and welcome back to Leonard Creek Farm. Alright guys, today is going to consist of another cook with me video. Seems like you all enjoy those. And so we're going to do another one today. Today is going to be Southern style, my version of Southern style chicken and dumplings. We're going to make hopefully some canned green beans out of the garden and some mashed potatoes from the potatoes from the garden. I might have to mix up with some store-bought potatoes because we haven't dug all of our potatoes out of the garden yet. And I do have a bag of store-bought potatoes that I need to move through. And so we're going to get started with that. First off, I'm going to be posting a short. And so I'm not going to talk about how I get my chicken broth, but just know a simple shortened way that I get my chicken broth. I use onion peels, pepper scraps and onion scraps, along with chicken thighs today. In the Instapot, I put it on broth and I let it cook down. My Instapot is 20 minutes, so it cooks down for 20 minutes. We add just a little bit of water in there because that's what you have to do in my Instapot, and we let that cook down, and we use that broth for our dumplings, our chicken and dumpling broth. Alright guys, we've got our Instapot here. It's released pressure. We're going to go ahead and get our chicken broth out of here, along with our chicken. I'm going to put this down in the sink. We're going to get a cauldron. I've got a bowl right here. And we're going to pour, actually I'm not going to pour hot liquid into that. I'll give me a glass bowl. We're going to put a little strainer, not a cauldron, a strainer in a bowl, and we're going to dump out this juice. Sometimes it's enough, sometimes it's not. If it's not enough, I do have some more chicken broth, and so we will use this chicken broth and the other chicken broth together if it's not enough. So let's pour this out into a cauldron and see how it looks. Alright guys, I got a little strainer here. I'm going to grab me some utensils so I don't burn myself. We're going to grab this out. And I'm going to pour this into here slowly, hopefully not making too much of a mess. We're going to pull that chicken out and put it in another bowl. I want to get all that goodness down there. Oh guys, it smells so good. Also, when I put my chicken and my onion scraps and my onions into the Instapot to make broth, I do season it with some garlic, some onion powder, I put a little bit of cayenne in it, not much, just to add some dynamics of flavor, just to add some good flavors in there. You can pretty much add anything that you think would be good on your chicken, obviously, with seasonings that'll be good cooked down in a soup form. And so salt, pepper, and stuff like that. If you are using homemade broth, it's going to take salt. When you use store-bought broth, it already has the salt in it, and so you don't have to add salt. But if you're using homemade broth, you definitely want to add salt and seasoning when you do it. Also, guys, this is going to be done in 2 different parts of the day. I'm working on this now. My husband will probably be in the next hour or so, so we'll start it, and then we will finish it or reheat it, one or the other, however long it takes him to get here. Probably finish it when we get back from doing our farm chores. Also, little tip here, if you want to make broth at home, it's super duper easy. When I peel an onion, I take the peels. I take the outside of the onion that most people don't use, or we don't use. We take, you know, like the outer piece of the onion off and the peel off. And I put it in a Ziploc baggie and put it in the freezer. I do this with pepper pieces that I'm not going to use. A lot of times I cut the rib out of my peppers for certain dishes. And so I'll take those ribs and I'll put them in the bag. And so they make great vegetable broth. You can also, like I'm doing today, put them in with some chicken that has the bone in it, because that bone in the chicken is going to be wonderful. Also, today I'm not going to use my chicken for my meal, obviously, or my bone for my meal, obviously, so I'll take that and I'll put it in a bag. And we can use that for bone broth and for broths for stuff like this. And so you can put those bones back, you can put your peels back. Definitely don't want to do potatoes or anything like that. From what I've read, it's not really something you want to put back. But definitely your onion peels and your peppers and you're definitely 100% your bone. Alright guys, we got the broth draining while I was yakking. I'm going to go ahead and take the chicken out and try to get those peels off of it. This is bone in, skin on thighs, and they're falling literally right off the bone. And we're going to take this and pull the chicken off, obviously, and take that bone out, and use this for the chicken in our chicken and dumplings. We're going to let this drain still. I still feel some moisture in them onions. Take this down and push that and try to get all them juices out. That is our flavor, y'all. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to do it. We're going to go ahead and peel this chicken off, and y'all know how to peel chicken off the bone, right? You probably don't need a video about that. So we're going to pull this chicken off, and then I'll be right back with you. Alright guys, while I'm shredding this chicken here, I'm taking the bones out and sitting them in my strainer where the broth bowl is for now. And I'm going through and I'm getting the chicken pulled off the bone and pulled out. Now, there's many different ways that people do chicken in their chicken and dumplings. Some people cut it in chunks. Some people do it shredded. I like mine in thin, shredded pieces. Kind of like this. About that size. About that size. Shredded up is how I like mine. You can do it however you want. You can chunk it. You can cut it in big chunks. But that's just how I like it. In this video, you're going to see a lot of how I like doing stuff. I pretty much taught myself how to make chicken and dumplings. I'd watch people make it, you know, here and there. But I just kind of come up with what works for me, and so you do you. I'm not a professional chef by no means. I didn't even know how to cook when me and my husband got together. Bless his heart. And so he's been through a lot of trial and error and a lot of burnt meals. And so we've been married for 8 years and been dating for 10 years. And so this November will be our 10th anniversary of when we started dating. 10 years of dating. And so, like I said, he's been through it. But we're gonna shred this up here, and then I'll take this chicken and just kind of set it aside because we won't need it for a little bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and continue to shred this chicken up, and we'll be back. Alright, so we got my chicken shredded up to my liking. where we're going to be leaving to go to the farm later, I'm going to go ahead, because I don't know how long I have, I'm going to go ahead and just put this chicken, or leave the chicken in the bowl, put a lid on it, and throwing it everywhere. Put a lid on it, and my countertop's clean. Put a lid on it, and we will put it in the fridge to sit until it's ready to go in. Depending on how much time I have is depending on how long it's going to take before I put the chicken in. And obviously I don't want just food sitting out while we're gone. So we're going to put a lid on it, and we'll put it in the fridge, and then we'll come back to this a little bit later. Alright guys, we are on to the second part of making my chicken and dumplings. We're going to drain this. I'm going to let that hang for a few minutes and let that drain down in the pot. Alright, I'm going to just sit that down here in the bowl. We've got our broth here. But first, what we're going to do is get a little pan here, or a pot, a medium-sized pot. And this is my go-to pot. I've got two of these. These are Pioneer Woman, as you can tell on the inside. It has had a lot of use on the bottom. I use these a lot. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our roux started. Now, I do it a little bit different, I think, than a lot of people around here that I've seen cook chicken and dumplings. Some people like it, I guess, more soupy. Some people like it a little bit thicker. I like it a little bit thicker. I want my chicken and dumplings to pretty much be like gravy and biscuits with chicken on it. And so I do mine kind of thick. And so first I start out by making a little gravy. So how I do this, I will show you. But what you'll need is I'm going to take onion and cut it up into small pieces. I'm going to take about 2 tablespoons, well, about a tablespoon and a half of butter, and we're gonna kind of guesstimate on the amount of flour we need. I'll tell you after I put it in. That way I can kind of let you know. I've never done any. I've measured with my heart, y'all. I've measured with my heart, and so I don't have the exact measurements. But first, what we're gonna do is put a little butter in the bottom. Like I said, about a tablespoon and a half, or yeah. And then we're going to saute our onions in that and let them cook down until they are fluorescent. And so, is that the right word? Until they're see-through. We're going to let them cook down until they're see-through. The butter and the onion, we're going to season them with some salt and pepper. And then we'll add our flour and milk in to make our roux, our gravy, and then we'll show you what's next. Alright guys, this is just a yellow onion. I'm going to cut the top off here. You know what we do with these peels, right? We're going to peel them off, put them in a bowl for now, and they will go into a freezer bag later. Like I said, we take the outer onion part off. Don't ask me why I do that, I just do. Sometimes it's just that they don't have good spots on them. I guess is why. So, I don't need a whole bunch of onion. I'm going to cut this tip off because I seen a kind of weird spot right there. Y'all, difficult piece. Okay, we're going to take our onion here. I'm going to cut it about a centimeter. A little bit thicker on that side. About that thick. Let's see if I can get the focus here. There you go. About that thick. Maybe 2 centimeters. I'm going to take the inside out here. I don't need much onion, like I said, y'all. This is just for more flavoring than anything. And then we're going to chop it up into small pieces. I don't cut onion in any fancy way. I just eyeball it. There's like a million ways to cut an onion. There's all kinds of fancy ways out there. But by the time this is done, you won't be even able to see the onion. And not even really taste onion. It's just more to give flavor than anything. And y'all, they're burning my eyes. My eyes are watering. We do want them in smaller pieces though. I got onion in my eye. Well, I don't know if I got it in my eye. It's just burning. We're going to chop them up real fine. Okay. Let me rinse my hands and get my eye from not crying, and then we'll be right back. Alright guys, I put the excess onion up. I cleaned my knife off here, and I'm gonna try to measure this so I can tell y'all. We got our butter here, and we're going, let's see, I've already got a half a tablespoon kind of cut off right there, so we're gonna say 1.5 tablespoons is about right where we want to be. I'm gonna drop it in. Rinse that butter off my hand. And let's see. We're gonna let it get hot. I'm gonna take a little bit of it and rub it on the bottom here. Kind of make the pan a little non-stick. But we're gonna cut our onion, or put our onion in down in this butter, like I said, and we'll let them onions cook down, and then we'll make a little roux and get our soup started for our chicken and dumplings. Our butter's good. We're going to put our onion down in there. Put a little salt, a little pepper, and we're going to let them cook down. Alright guys, while these onions are cooking down here, hopefully I don't get distracted and let them burn. While these onions are cooking down here, we need to think about our dumplings. Now, what I do guys, is make my biscuit dough, the typical biscuit dough that I use, and I do have a biscuit recipe. If you are interested in watching that video, I can link it down below. But I make my biscuits like I regularly would, except I put a little bit more milk in them because I make my dumplings from drop biscuits. I use a wet biscuit instead of a dry biscuit to dump it in and to make my dough. And so while these are about ready, so I need to grab my milk, and I've got my flour here, and we're going to make a roux, and then we'll get started on our biscuits. Alright guys, looks like I'm going to need just a little bit more butter here, and I am burning my onion right now. Ugh. I was trying to get my camera set up, and it was not wanting to cooperate, and in the meantime, I've burnt my onion. I added about another half a tablespoon of butter, They're not real bad burnt, but they're farther than what I would like them to be. Alright guys, I've got a scoop right here. And now we're going to see how much flour we need. Guys, I measure with my heart, so I'll try to let you know at the end kind of what I need here. When you're making a roux, you want that flour to cook down. So we're going to get this good and mixed up here. I put a little bit too much flour in that, guys. So in order to correct that, I'm just going to add a little more butter. Like I said, guys, I'm not a chef. I do not claim to be a chef, and I make mistakes. And it's even easier to make mistakes when you're recording, and you're not very good at staying on task while you're cooking to begin with. And so, like I said, I'm not perfect, but around here, we just roll with it. Alright, so I added a tablespoon, about a half a tablespoon, and then about another half of a tablespoon. And we're going to let this flour cook down. I used about a half of a quarter a cup of flour there. Can y'all see it? That extra moisture helped it. We're going to let that flour cook down. You know what? I'm just going to throw the rest of that butter in. It's not going to hurt nothing. So about all together, to make my roux here, I added another tablespoon of butter. Alright guys, it's about where I want it to be. I checked my heat to make sure it wasn't up too high. Now we're going to pour our milk in. And I'm going to take this. And mix it up. I should have been stirring it when I poured my milk in. But it wasn't too clumpy. Those actual pieces that you see in there are not clumps of flour. They're the onion. And you can see the black pieces in it, hopefully. I hope you can. Oh, it's been bright the whole time. Y'all, my camera skills are just not with it today. Usually when I do these videos, my tripod's always in my husband's vehicle. And so I'm having to compromise and use different things. Alright guys, so we want this to thicken up. I can't even tell you how much milk I used there. I don't know, maybe a quarter cup of milk. We're going to let this thicken up. I'm going to continue to stir here. This is why this video is a cook with me and not how to do it. Because guys, I make mistakes. Everybody does. I probably should have just waited until I had my tripod to make one of these videos, but I really wanted to show you guys how I did this. I burnt my onion. I put too much flour in and had to add more butter. But that's okay. We ain't perfect. I don't don't claim to be perfect. It's thickening up here. We're going to allow it to thicken up more. If you've ever made gravy, essentially, like I said, I start by making gravy here. I was going to get started on my biscuits, but we'll wait until this thickens up. And after this thickens up a bit, what we're going to add next is our broth. I'm going to see how much I have here. We eat a lot. When we make chicken and dumplings, I usually like to make it last for 2 meals. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on how much broth I do have some broth put up. Actually, I have a jar of broth put up, so if this is not enough, we will just add another jar. I'm figuring it's probably not going to be enough because it takes a long time to get this cooked down. I'm going to go ahead and grab the camera and show you this gravy. It's thickening up, guys. So my little mistake with the flour has worked out just fine. Guys, it tastes good. And so although I burnt the onions and made that little mistake with the flour, it's all come out good in the end. I'll show you all. I'll grab the camera and show you how it looks. There it is, guys. We made a gravy. Now the spots in it, you can see some of the pepper and stuff. The bigger chunks that you see, there's the black piece right there. That is, that's burnt onion. I should probably try to get that out. So we're going to let this cook just a little bit longer. Let it get just a smidge thicker, which is about there. And then we'll pour our broth in. Alright guys, we got our butter mixed up in there. I did a well in the center here. I added about a tablespoon of baking soda in this. Yes, this is self-rising flour, but I like a good floofy biscuit, and so that's what we're looking for here. I need this to be, I put about 8 ounces of milk in here. I need this to be just a little bit more runny than this. Like I said, this is drop biscuits, and so I've always just measured, like I said guys, I've always measured with my heart. Me trying to tell y'all measurements is about a joke, because I don't hardly measure anything. I'm going to grab a little bit more milk because we need these to be really moist. These are drop biscuits, so we need them to drop down in the bowl. Try to get as much of this off as possible. And I have been stirring this pot every once in a while. Obviously, we don't want it to burn. Now, once we get this the biscuit dough done, we are going to add our chicken in. I put the chicken in the fridge. And so we're going to put the chicken into the broth mixture. I hear my husband is here now. And so we're going to let these biscuits sit. I'm going to cover them up, let them sit, put them in the fridge, and when we get back, we will drop them down into the broth. Alright guys, here is the biscuit dough here. Good and moist. We are going to put the lid on it. We're going to put it in the refrigerator. It's not going to hurt for the dough to sit in the refrigerator. While we're gone, if anything, it's going to make it more airy. We've got our chicken here, and I'm going to go ahead and, my hands are clean guys, I'm going to go ahead and pull it apart and drop it into our broth here. It's probably not going to take every bit of this chicken, obviously, because that's quite a bit, but we can save some for later and make maybe some pulled chicken or something like that for lunch. And the dog's barking because my husband's in for work, so you can hear him in the background. We're going to go ahead and just drop some in here. I'm going to say probably, there he is, he's in. I'm going to say probably about maybe 3 cups of shredded chicken. I'm going to put in here. He's super excited. He's oohing and awing in the background. Because he's been asking for this. I told him about 4 days ago, I really want to make chicken and dumplings. And he said, ooh, that sounds good. Well, last night I was going to make it, and we got in a little too late, and so we couldn't make it. And so, anyways, we got about 3 cups of chicken in here, and we're going to stir it up, and then I'm going to turn the heat off of this before we leave and put the lid on, and when we get back, we'll finish this up. Well, I'm washing dishes and washing this big mound of dishes, I should say. I turned the heat up on this a little bit. We put the chicken in, and we're going to let this cook down while we're here, or cook while we're here. It's boiling slightly. It's a low boil, and then like I said, we'll put the lid on it and sit it on the back burner, and then when we get back, we'll drop the biscuits in. Alrighty guys, we are back from the farm. We're gonna go ahead and get started on get back started on the dumplings and get started on the rest of the supper. I'm gonna be making some green beans and some mashed potatoes to go with our chicken and dumplings. We're gonna go ahead and heat our broth and our chicken back up, and then we'll start dumping our dumplings in. And while we're waiting on it to heat up, we can get started on our green beans. We're going to get it all stirred up a little bit here. Alright, we're going to let this heat up, and while it's heating up, we'll go ahead and get started on our green beans. Alright guys, we've got our green beans here. This is from this year. This is one of our cans from this year. And they're white half runners. And before we left earlier, I cut up some salted pork and some onion. And I'm going to put just a little bit of bacon grease in the bottom of the pan to cook the onion and the salted pork in just a small bit, because the salted pork is going to give us the fat we need. But we're going to continue to stir this up here, and we're going to let it heat up and get started on the green beans. Alright, I'm going to get a little bacon grease right here. I mean, like, I don't know, it's like a teaspoon worth. We're going to let it heat up. Well, we're going to let it heat up and then put our salted pork and our onion in. Alright guys, while that's heating up, I went ahead and grabbed the dough out. As you can tell, the drop dough is really airy, and that's what we're looking for. We want air pockets in our dumplings when we drop them in. Some people like what they call slickers, which is where you do like your biscuit dough. You lay it out, you get them really thin, and then you drop them down in there. Well, you cut them into little squares and drop them down in there. That's not how I do mine. Like I said before, I do the drop dough. I like them better like that because I don't like doughy, oh, I just threw onion everywhere. I don't like doughy dumplings. When I have a dumpling, I want it to be like a biscuit on the inside. And I found the best way to do that is by either making small individual little tiny biscuits, or doing, the best way I've found is doing the drop dough, adding baking powder in there. I'm sorry, my husband is mowing outside. It's probably really loud right now. I'm doing the baking powder, or baking soda in the dough, and allowing the dough to rise before you drop it in to I'm sorry, you all probably can't hear me. I hope you can. Into the chicken broth and chicken mixture. We're gonna allow these onions to get good and brown, and or good and cooked down, and the salted pork to get a little brown on the edges before we put our green beans in. Alright, I'm letting the broth and chicken cook with the lid on. I want to get this up to a boil before I drop my biscuit dough in, and so it's getting there. We want it to get a little bit more fierce of a boil than that. I don't want to be able to stir it down. We're getting close. We're getting all the goodies down at the bottom here. The dumplings are getting close as well. We can still kind of stir that bowl out. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and dump the green beans in. We're going to mix them around here a little bit. Get all the goodies off the bottom of the pan, of course. We'll get us some warm water, and we'll let them cook in that just a tiny little bit, and then pour our water in. What is it, sis? Yeah. Yes. Alright, put the water in. I'm going to put just a little bit of salt, and we're going to cover it up. After we've added it to a bowl, I'm going to turn the heat down just a smidge. Right there, it's about good. And now we're going to drop our biscuit dough in. I've got me a spoon here. I'm going to drop it down in the broth. That way it'll come off the spoon a little bit easier. I'm going to drop them in. We just want them to be about the spoon size. And I like a lot of dumpling in mine. Like I said earlier, I want it to be about like biscuits and gravy. We're gonna let these dumplings cook until they are like a biscuit on the inside. Don't want it to come off as good. We're gonna dip this till they're like a biscuit on the inside, and until the broth thickens up real good. Usually once you drop your biscuits in, it usually starts to thicken up. And you want to try to get them kind of close to the same size. That way they cook uniformly. You can already tell they're starting to puff up some. I'm going to stir this just a little bit. Push those over to the side. I think I turned my heat down just a little bit too much. I'm going to pop it up just. I don't want to crowd it too much. Okay, we're going to call them about right for now. I'm going to pop the lid on, let them cook down. Alright guys, I've put the lid on here, and I'll give you a little sneak peek. This is how they look. We're going to let them cook with the lid on for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then we'll check what our dough looks like. We don't want them to be doughy on the inside. What I'm looking for is biscuity on the inside. We've got a little bit of dough left too, and obviously I'm not going to let this waste. I'll put a little more flour in here, and I'll go ahead and make some biscuits out of this, some biscuit dough out of this, and go ahead and get them to shape and stuff, and then I'll put them in a bag, and we can have these for biscuits later on. Alright guys, so up next on the menu is mashed potatoes. So we're going to rinse these off, get them peeled, get them cut up, and get them in a pot for some mashed potatoes. Alright, we got our potatoes rinsed off. I'm going to go ahead and take this lid off here and take these dumplings. I need to turn this down some. This pan gets really hot. I use it all the time, but it's literally like the worst for being able to grab handles and lids. So these are what the dumplings look like. I ain't gonna have to cut one open. I can done tell they still need to go a little bit longer. So we're gonna let them cook. I'm scratching down here at the bottom though, because I can feel that there's some chicken that's floated down at the bottom, kind of getting stuck. We don't want that to burn, so just stirring that up. Alright. I'm going to put the lid on, let them cook for about 3 more minutes, and then cut them open and see if anything's changed. Alright, while we're waiting on them, we're going to go ahead and peel these potatoes. I'm dropping the skins down into this bowl. You can kind of see the edge of it. There we go. I'm not just dropping them down on my counter, guys. Put them in the bowl here. Some people can cut and peel their potatoes in their hands. That is not something that I've mastered. I'll definitely peel the potato in my hand, but for whatever reason I cannot cut evenly in my hand. And we eat a lot of potatoes, so my cutting boards get a lot of use. Usually when you see somebody cutting in their hand, cutting potatoes in their hand, they're older ladies, so maybe one day I'll get that good, maybe with time. That's something I would honestly love to master. I know that sounds like something small and minuscule, but that is a goal of mine, to be able to cut potatoes in my hand evenly. Well, yeah, y'all probably don't want to watch the whole time me peeling these potatoes, so I'm going to go ahead and get these potatoes peeled and cut up, and then we'll get our pot ready to drop them in. Alright, okie dokie. We've got our potatoes cut. Got some water in my pot here. Oh. I'm going to drop them in. I'm going to put just a tad bit more water in that. Looks like I miscalculated. There we go. 1 cup should do. Got our potatoes on, the lid on. My chicken's sticking down at the bottom of my pan here. That's so aggravating. That's the main problem. One of the main issues I have with this pan is that it's thin bottom. They're not burning, but it is sticking. Alright, let's get one of these dumplings out. This is one of the larger ones here. Let me see if I can show y'all what I'm talking about here. Can you all see that? We're getting close to what the inside of a biscuit. Let me see if it'll focus. What the inside of a biscuit will. This is not doughy or mushy. Maybe you can see it in this one a little better. See if I can turn it. Can y'all see? It doesn't look like dough on the inside. It looks like a biscuit. That's what we want. That's how we like our dumplings. And that's one of the big ones, so that tells me that they are cooking down the way they're supposed to. There's the chicken, and as you can see, like I said, I like mine thick, like gravy. I don't like a real liquid chicken and dumplings. So we got plenty of chicken in here. We got good sized dumplings. I'm going to turn this down because it still wants to stick. We're going to put it on a low simmer and keep an eye on it and stir it up. But it's about done. The dumplings are. We're going to put a lid on them. Let's check on the green beans. Ooh, that's hot. These are Shelly beans. I've got, as you can see, oh, I just dropped a bean. I've got beans down in it. I'm going to have to get me a fork and get that bean out. We got it. These are cooking down. I do not want to grab that with my bare hand again. There we go. We're going to let them cook down. Alright guys, I turned the heat off the green beans. I showed you a little clip of them there. They're finished. The chicken and dumplings is finished. Let's check the potatoes here. Usually just take a knife and stab through the larger pieces. That's going right through it. So we're going to drain the liquid off, and then we'll get our mashed potatoes done. They're done. Alright guys, we got the mashed potatoes done, and so we're going to call the troops in to have them come make their plates. I'll show you all the supper with it all plated up. Before I plate this up, I want to give you another look of the inside of that dumpling. Can y'all see how it's kind of like on a bit like a biscuit on the inside? Like I said, the best way that I've found to do that is to do drop biscuits and to add that baking powder in there and let the dough sit and rise to let that airiness get in the dough so that you can have some dumplings like that. Goodness, I can't wait to dig in. We didn't forget the green beans either. We'll put them in a little bowl. Alright guys, we've got Miss Lucy Lou's plate made and mine. I just got to grab my green beans. But I thank you all for watching. I thank you all for hanging out. And I hope this video helped you in some way, or was entertaining, or just brought you some joy. But I appreciate y'all watching. I appreciate y'all hanging out. And I hope we can see you on the next one. Bye.